Call the meeting to order. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Randy Burke.
Here.
Commissioner Ken Gaspar.
Here.
Commissioner Darren Indovina.
Please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any comments on the agenda from the commissioners?
I've got a request, staff. We've added council comments, and we want to make sure that we add council comments to all of our agendas. And so I'm recommending that we go ahead and add that to this agenda as well. And then moving forward, at our regular meetings, it'll be on there. Work sessions, it'll be on there. That way, if you all have questions that we didn't cover on the agenda, you can ask me progress of projects and those kinds of things.
Okay, I approve.
Okay, any objections from the commissioners on adding council comments right after item J?
No.
Okay. Any other issues on the agenda?
No, sir.
Okay. Have any motions on the agenda?
Move that we approve the agenda with the amendment.
I'll second.
Call the roll.
Mayor Randy Burke.
Yes.
Commissioner Ken Gaspar.
Aye.
Commissioner Darren Indovina.
Aye.
All right, so let's go on to item A, approval of ordinance 925. This is 353, staff comments.
Yes, this was to be voted on at our regular council meeting, but we didn't provide the adequate notice. It was a 45-day notice. So we're coming back to council to do the second reading of Chapter 353 with the adequate notice that we were to give to the public.
Okay, so we've met those requirements.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have any motions on the second reading of ordinance 9125?
I'll move that we have a second reading of bill number 9125.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mayor Randy Burke.
Yes.
Commissioner Ken Gaspar.
Aye.
Commissioner Darren Indovina.
Aye.
Okay, will the clerk please do the reading title only of 9125?
An ordinance approving the historic downtown Monett redevelopment plan.
Okay.
This is the second reading, so there's any public comment.
Okay. Any public comments? This is the second reading on ordinance 9125, 353. Been talking about this for a while, done a few hearings. Anything from the public? Okay.
I'll move that we approve bill number 9125.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mayor Randy Burke.
Yes.
Commissioner Ken Gaspar.
Aye.
Commissioner Darren Indovina.
Aye.
So, discussion is Broadway and Central Avenue update.
Yes.
Staff comments. Go
So
ahead.
we have John Batchelor online with us. John's been working with us on the Central project, and then we put together a public focus group. John and his team met with the focus group on a couple of occasions. Also opened up to a public town hall and gathered information. Came back with the focus groups, and so John's going to present what was discovered through those focus groups on Broadway and Central. John?
Yeah, thank you, Mickey. I want to go ahead and share my screen here. All right, can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to cover just kind of what we've done to date on this this focus group and what we've been doing for the study of the intersection. So the first thing we covered with everyone in the focus group is just a project background and how we got to this point. So as I'm sure all of you are aware of it, I'll cover it again. We had a roundabout design to a 60% level of plans. It was the right-of-way plan stage, and we had that approved by MoDOT. While we were in the design process and just about to get ready to the right-of-way acquisition stage, the public got concerned with the project as proposed. And even though we'd already had public meetings on it in the past, some additional comments were made of concern, and a petition was started, and eventually by ordinance, the roundabout was shut down. So that's kind of the background of why we needed to go back to the drawing board and restart this intersection. So we just wanted to bring the whole focus group up to speed on that, make sure everyone understood why we were going back. So this is a schedule of what's happened in the past. We've had two focus group meetings with, or 2 meetings with the focus group. The focus group is made up of 8 members of the community that were hand selected or selected either by application or by city request. And then we also had what was meant to be a property owner or stakeholder meeting, but we had it open to the public and several members of the community ended up joining. I think we had approximately 40 people at that meeting. So it kind of just turned into this open office hours public meeting almost. We developed some exhibits based on all of the feedback that we heard from the community, and then we're working on refining those conceptual drawings right now, as well as we will have a public open house meeting in the future as well. This schedule has been changing as we go along because we're really focused on trying to make sure that we're getting all the information and giving the community time to provide the feedback that they want to provide. So we've been less stringent on following this schedule to a T and more so just allowing the community to provide that feedback. So that's where we're at in the process. We've also, it's not on this schedule, but we've also met with MoDOT and shared the concepts with them. They would like to see a little bit more further refined concepts, so we're working on cleaning those up, and then we'll be continuing to have ongoing conversation with them throughout this process. So one of the things we did at the focus group, the very first focus group meeting, is we did a SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we did that directly for the intersection to really understand what people like about it, what people dislike about it, and use that to come up with concepts for the intersection. Given how controversial the roundabout became, we really wanted to make sure that we were getting all of the feedback and input from the community on what they wanted. So on the screen here, you can see two different SWOT analyses, one from the focus group, so just those 8 members of the community, and then one from that open office hours, which was like the 40 people from the community. So even though those were 2 totally different settings, we ended up having a lot of overlap in what people wanted to see. So one of the strengths they thought was that the capacity is okay. They liked the way that the intersection currently functioned. One of the weaknesses was the visibility and the line of sight. They both agreed that there's issues there with being able to see cars approaching. Some of the opportunities is that it could be used as the previous configurations was a through street, and so they thought that could be an opportunity. And then some of the threats was trucks, or really right-sizing the effort. Some members of the community felt like the roundabout was too expensive for what they felt like was needed for the intersection, and better use of dollars elsewhere. So that's kind of some of the similarities. Some of the differences between them is the focus group wanted to see it as a downtown gateway. Some of the weaknesses brought up in the open office hours was pedestrian accommodations and wanting to see that addressed. So there was differences between the different meetings as well, but just kind of wanted to highlight some of those. And what we ended up ultimately doing with that information is we turned that into a set of evaluation criteria for all of our concepts. So wanted to pay attention to vehicle speed, conflict points, pedestrian, facilities, cost, some of those things. We evaluated all of our concepts against that evaluation criteria.
John, could you explain to me what conflict points mean? Just kind of give me what kind of things would be conflict points?
Yeah, so conflict points is like the number of, I guess, conflicts that would happen in an intersection. So like a T-bone is one conflict point. Side swipe is another conflict point. Like merging between two vehicles is another conflict point. So all of those become conflict points as far as safety goes. And I mean, just to give an example that's talked about a lot, a standard traffic signal has 32 conflict points, a roundabout has 8. So you really cut down on the number of potential conflict points, which improves the safety of the intersection.
Okay, so it's kind of collision points between vehicles, trucks, cars, and people, I guess.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. So with that, we ended up creating 11 concepts or 11 exhibits. They're very high level and they are all over the place, on simplicity to very complex. Some have lots of right-of-way acquisitions, some don't have hardly any. And so, but we evaluated all 11 of those against the evaluation criteria. And then we went ahead and separated them out into 2 separate categories of the ideas we felt like were less aligned with what the community wanted and more aligned. So in here, you might get a little chuckle with these less aligned options because they are pretty out there. So the first exhibit showed Central Avenue continuing south all the way to US 60 to a new signal here, and then continuing south and just really realigning that whole stretch. Again, going back to this table up in the top left, that's our evaluation criteria. So if it's red, it means that it would be making the vehicle speed worse in this case. If it's yellow, it means it would stay about the same as current conditions. And if it's green, it's making it better than current conditions. So we evaluated them all based on that. I won't spend too much time on these less aligned options, just because again, they were the less aligned options, but that was option number 1. Option number 2 was to create like a one-way loop, essentially, right there to reduce some of those conflict points and improve visibility. That would be a lower cost option, so it was green there, but for several other reasons, we said that would actually be making it worse.
No.
Option 3 here, this one would be realigning Broadway, so that has a lot of right-of-way impact. So for acquisitions, it was red.
John, we've lost the...
Hold on, John, we've lost the picture here. Just a second.
Okay.
Might be just in a different window.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
Okay, John,
You're back.
are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All righty. Sorry about that.
That's all right. So on option 3 here, we had a stop sign for southbound Central Avenue. So the main traffic movement on this is the north-south movement. So putting a stop sign there would actually make operations worse. So that one got a little bit of red there. There's lots of right-of-way acquisitions, lots of costs associated with right-of-way acquisitions. So again, this was a less aligned option with what the community had expressed interest in. Exhibit 4, very similar, of lots of property takings, lots of costs associated with this new configuration. The idea behind this one was to create an intersection with a larger radius than what we currently have today, and you would still be operating with a stop sign on westbound Broadway. That was the idea behind that one. Exhibit 5 is very similar to Exhibit 3, but reconfiguring Broadway a little bit more to put more of the curve on Broadway rather than on Central. Again, that was a less aligned option. So those are the 5 we kind of just ruled out automatically, as we didn't really needed to discuss those any further in the focus group because they didn't really meet the needs that they expressed interest in anyways. So then moving forward, we had 6 options in the more aligned section. So Exhibit 6, and up here at the north, you'll see these are all the improvements that are already designed in Central Avenue that are moving forward, but we wanted to show those because it plays a factor in how this one operates. But it would basically be cutting off the north-south movement at Central Avenue and pushing the cars into downtown, or having to turn north onto First Street to continue going northbound. So from an operations standpoint, it would work better. Acquisitions, it didn't really have any, so it stayed the same. But then as far as like vehicle speed and property access, it's making those worse. So we had a roundabout design before. We didn't want to, I mean, I know this one jumps out to everyone as, well, it's another roundabout. We already did a roundabout. But from an engineering standpoint, we did want to address the fact that a roundabout is still an option. It might not be possible, or might have a lot more roadblocks from a legal standpoint or from other cost aspects, but from an engineering standpoint, it is still a viable solution. So we shifted the roundabout from where it was previously at northeast to try to figure out a new roundabout configuration. Another thing I want to bring up here, and this was discussed at the focus group,
John, this radius is of the roundabouts. It's a different location. Is it the same radius of the original plan?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, I was just about to cover that. So these drawings that we did are very, very high level. They were very, like, just quick drawings to kind of present the idea of what it could be. So you'll notice there's several things that aren't really thought through yet, like how to accommodate Arvis Bank's access. Sidewalk isn't even shown. Some of those other access points of how they're going to connect in aren't shown. That's like what we're working on right now as we're further developing the concepts. But this was just kind of to get the idea out there of what it could look like. So from our evaluation criteria, there's several acquisitions involved in this. The cost is higher. Property access becomes very limited with your reduced turning movements throughout the intersections. But from a lot of your other things, it lowers vehicle speed, improves visibility, lowers the conflict points, so that got better. We'd better be able to accommodate pedestrians. With a roundabout, you have an opportunity for placemaking and maybe put some beautifying inside the roundabout. And then from an operational standpoint, it works much better. So this one did meet several of our evaluation criteria of what the community expressed interest in. Option 8 here would basically be to limit all turning movements at the current intersection of Broadway and 37 with a median and a right in, right out as you're heading westbound on Broadway. And it would put a new signal in up here, essentially at Bond Street. One of the things we're working through now as we're cleaning up these concepts is making sure that this would accommodate the trucks. So this intersection might need to shift down a little bit to the south and make this radius larger. That's what we're working through now, but that's, the idea would stay the same with a signal up here around Bond Street and the turning movements all disappearing at the current intersection. So several of these became green with vehicle speed, conflict points, and little acquisition with this option. But some things like property access and operations would get worse. With a signal, your operations pretty much always get worse. For some directions, it gets better, but for the main north-south through movement, it's getting worse because they're having to stop where they didn't have to before. Exhibit 9 is one of the most simple options that we showed of really just like cleaning up the super elevation and the profile through the intersection, improving the site distance by acquiring the grocery store at the corner, cutting off some of the access points with the 2 legs on the northwest side and the 1 leg on the south side. Really just trying to make the intersection easier to navigate and give the drivers less that they have to think about as they're going through the intersection. So again, several of these were green and getting better from a cost perspective. This one's one of the lower cost options. So we had that as green. Property access gets worse because you're putting in a cul-de-sac and cutting off some of the access points here. One of the other things that's not shown on this is it doesn't really accommodate trucks from Main Street feeds very well. So there'd have to be additional improvements that were on like Front Street or on First Street to help with getting the trucks through the intersection. And I apologize, Exhibit 10 is our most simple option, even more simple than Exhibit 9, and that's why you'll see the most yellow on this option. It really is just trying to do some very basic improvements like cutting off the 2 legs to the north side of the intersection, and then at the grocery store, it would be taking out that additional storage building that they have on the side to really just improve that line of sight and that visibility. So one of our more simple options if a lower cost method was preferred. And then Exhibit 11 is a traffic signal right on top of the curve, and putting in some medians to restrict some turning movements. Also getting rid of the 2 legs on the northwest quadrant. MoDOT previously had expressed not liking the option of a signal at this intersection because it's on a curve. From an engineering standpoint, those are always less preferred because they're usually less safe than one that's at a 90-degree angle. So that's something to consider, but it would also give protected movements for people making left turns on southbound Central Avenue onto Broadway. So it could be safer for some individuals, but signals also typically increase rear ends as well. So you're kind of trading one severe crash for a less severe crash, but there would still be some concerns there. So from an operations standpoint, like I mentioned before with the signal, anytime you're stopping that north-south movement, it's making operations worse, but it could potentially be allowing the people on Broadway to get out quicker than they would now if they're waiting for a gap in traffic. So for some, it could be making it better, but for the majority, it would be slowing them down with an extra stop. So those were the 6 options that we had shown as more aligned. What we did is we had the focus group vote on which up to 3 options that they did not want to see done. That was a method we chose rather than having them vote on their favorite option and only picking their favorite option. We wanted them to go ahead and just eliminate the options that they didn't want, up to 3. So what that did is it eliminated options 6 and 9 as options that we were going to continue moving forward with. 8 and 11 kind of rose to the top. Both of those had a signal. That was the signal at the existing intersection or signal to the north at Bond. And then 7 and 10 tied with 3 votes against out of the 8 members. With future conversations we've had, and we know, like, because the ordinance was passed on the roundabout, that we kind of decided not to proceed any further with 7 at this time, just due to the political infeasibility of that option. So we're currently working on further developing our concepts for option 8, 10, and 11 as like the 3 that we chose to move forward with. So that's where we're currently at. We've met with MoDOT. One of their biggest questions related to the concepts was, is a traffic signal warranted? Because they're not going to be in favor of a traffic signal that's not warranted. From an engineering standpoint, we're not really in favor of a traffic signal that's not warranted either. So there's 9 different signal warrants that you could evaluate the signals against. And that's what, another thing that we're currently in the process of doing is seeing if it would even be warranted. If it is warranted, that doesn't mean a signal has to be put in. It just means that there would be support around a signal being put in. If it's not warranted, it just means it's not necessarily a good idea to put in a signal right now, but you could go ahead and build the intersection for a signal to be put in the future, so that way when it does become warranted, it can be put in. If you're not familiar with warrants, a lot of those things will evaluate crashes, like a 4-hour peak count, an 8-hour peak count. So there's a lot of traffic volumes and measurements that go into that to establish whether a signal is warranted. And that's all we've covered to date. So like I said, next steps is to further develop these concepts and to have continued conversations with MoDOT. And then we'll put together a full conceptual plan report with our recommendation and present that to council at that time.
Do you all have any questions?
I don't think so. I'm gonna have, so we're looking at 8, 10, 11 to further develop and talk with MoDOT, correct? I mean, that's the whole purpose here is go ahead with those 3, as I understand it. And the 11 has a signal light, and my eyes are, okay, so that is number 11, that has a signal.
And median.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
a median, okay. And let's go to number 10. No signal, no
Okay.
median, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that from a property standpoint on exhibit 10, that's where we reduce the line of sight by that storage shed at the Mexican grocery store, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's the easiest one. Okay, go back to number 8. And, all right, so I kind of understand. That's medians, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Signal up the road there.
A signal up the road, nah. Okay.
May I ask a question on 8 where we're at? How do you make a left turn to go south on 37 at that intersection with the stop sign?
You can't. That eliminates the left turn there. You would have to come up here to the signal to make a left to
Yeah.
go southbound.
I tell you, I don't like that one at all.
Yeah, me neither.
It's an interesting term for summer anyway.
10, can you go to 10, John?
Yep.
See if that was the one. Okay, so it's 11, the next one, with the turn signal at the corner. With the turn signal at the corner, there is no need for property acquisition because you're governed by the light to go onward. So you don't have to wait at a stop sign to see if traffic is forthcoming, you just depend on the light. So the Mexican grocery store, as we're calling it today, has no impact with the light because you're following the judgment of the light to make that right turn.
I don't think that's right.
Well, if you have a light,
There's still,
you don't have to wait for
I will
traffic,
say
the
that-
light will govern the traffic.
I will say that's what we have shown here. Again, these were very high levels, so as we're further developing the concepts, there still could be some property acquisition that's needed as we
It could be.
establish what that full footprint looks like. The idea behind it was to try to not have those property acquisitions, but
Understood.
once we get into truck turning movements and measuring how much space they need, and once we get into site distance measurements and the sidewalk improvements and that kind of thing, we may still have some property acquisitions.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
I don't like option 8. I just, you know, turning north, you're coming from downtown, you gotta turn north before you get on
Right.
37. It just doesn't make sense to me. I have comments from commissioners.
I'm not a fan of it. I don't like the fact that you gotta go up First Street, turn left as you go a block north or more.
I'm just gonna wait until our next.
And 10, one more time, John? I think it was 10 was the stop sign, right? Yeah, okay. Okay. That's pretty similar to what we have now.
Yeah, they'll just bring it down to grade.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so you want to go forward with 8, 10, and 11, or,
Yeah, and then he'll bring it back to council.
okay.
All right.
All right, John, yeah, just go ahead with 8, 10, and 11. And we'll keep talking with MoDOT. And then we'll probably need to do a public hearing.
Yeah, there's a whole process here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was one of the other things I don't think I covered very well is next steps. So after we further develop these concepts and get a report put together, we would want to have a public meeting and share the full process with the community as well. So.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead with those 3 options and continue with the process.
Good. All right, John, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, next topic, Chapel Drive overpass update.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Skip join us at the table here, Skip. Kevin Sprinkle was not able to join us today. He had a conflict. So he walked Skip and I through some of the Chapel Drive updates. I'm gonna give that to you, Skip. Let you drive that ship. The real thing with Chapel is I've made a couple comments that we're waiting on authorization for us to send out for bids. We're still at that point. The oversight of this project ultimately is the Federal Railroad Administration. And so they're the project coordinator because it's Chrissy grant money, safe crossings. So we're really waiting on them to give us the final green light so that we can send it out for bids. We did bring the plans today. We walked through those yesterday. I don't know if the commissioners have any questions about any of the design, where we're at. I mean, but that's kind of the summary of where we're at right now. We're just waiting on the Federal Railroad Administration. We also have OWN, which is the engineering firm that we're also using for this project. They're reviewing the project management plan. That will be submitted as well. That's not going to hold up the bidding. That's an ongoing process, but they're working on that. And then the construction and maintenance agreement, which is again, not the reason why the bidding process is being held up. It's because of the Federal Railroad Administration. So we've got plans here. Are there any questions from the commissioners that you'd like to see as far as the design work of this overpass?
Is that the current design of that overpass on Chapel? I have not seen it, but I can just look at it while we talk.
And he can walk you through some of the elevations, some of the side views, if you'd like. Again, we haven't gotten a clear green light, so if you'd like to meet one-on-one with
Right.
Kevin Sprinkle and walk through the document. So obviously, we still need to do a cost estimate for the project on our side, the engineers. We have secured all the right-of-way for this project, which is good. We've had a couple of questions about the north end of Chapel Drive and the elevation, the grade there. It's going to be a little bit steeper because you're coming down into a stoplight. So all of that is reflected in the plans. It's somewhat similar to the other 3 overpasses we have here in Monett. The long-term objective here was that we would have overpasses on all of our rail crossings here in Monett as a safety issue, and this is the last one in the series of 4. So, any questions about where we're at with Chapel Drive?
I want to see the side view. It's been a while since I've taken a look at it.
It's Crest Point. Will it be at the top where Chapel Drive is by the Armory and then a declination all the way down from there, or will it go up and then
So
down?
this is the north end?
I'll let Skip answer.
Yes.
Okay. 5.2%.
Yeah, and then when it gets on past,
5%.
gets on past, that's where it gets a little bit steep right there for it.
8.5?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, thanks.
What was the question?
Darren, if you want to ask.
Yes, sir.
it-
Where it attaches to chapel at the south side, okay. Will it crest higher there before it declines, or will it be a straight and then a decline?
You mean as you're coming onto the bridge?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a dip, then you come up and over and down. Yep.
Any other questions about that project?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you, sir.
It's been a while since I looked at it.
Yeah.
And as you know, the voters passed the use tax, which is the funding source for this project, as well as the Chrissy grant.
Sidewalks, good.
Yep, we're working on getting some lighting on it, so.
Just so you all know, it won't be any kind of decorative light. It'll be the same lighting that we use on all of our overpasses. It's a MoDOT standard light,
Yep.
so.
And it's just an end at Cleveland, or Business 60, it's just an end, there's no loops, rounds, or anything like that, right turn, yields, or anything as you come to the south side, north side, sorry.
Whatever's already there.
Yeah,
Whatever
there's
is
no
already
change
there.
to that intersection.
Yeah.
Any change.
And 8.5, I just heard y'all say, is the
That's just a little bit steeper than what you're coming down to the tracks now.
close to Eisenhower's grade? Is it close to
That'd
that?
be similar to Kyler's,
Kyler's grade?
Yeah.
Which is,
7 something, yeah.
okay.
All right, any more questions?
Railroad approved.
Yeah.
We're just
That's the
waiting
big
on,
one.
just waiting on the railroad.
That's the
approval.
big one.
Yeah. I do want to say about our overpasses, Public Works does a great job treating those overpasses prior to any kind of weather conditions, snow, that's what I'm talking about, snow and ice. Is it called beet juice? Yeah. All right. They put beet juice on it, and so this overpass will be treated in the same manner. So we prepped that, and it's all
That's what we do
maintenance.
for.
It's all we do.
Centennial Bridge, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
thanks.
All
All
right,
right.
that's all I have about that.
Thank you.
Okay. There are no other comments. Let's go on to discussion of the Ethics Commission ordinance. Staff?
Yes, this was brought up in a work session. This is an ordinance that would allow those running for office to do what's called a short version of the ethics report. This was suggested to us. We worked with legal. City clerk worked on this project to get the ordinance in place. So what we're proposing at our April meeting is we'll bring this before council for the first reading, and then the second reading would be in May, which would align with the ballot question that we've already done the first reading on. We will vote on that in April, and then the Charter Commission of 13 members. We've done the first reading, we would vote in April. So this would align with that timeline. So, but we did want to present that ordinance to you. It's in your packet. I didn't know if there was any questions about that.
Well, so it just takes less work.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This was a suggestion by a citizen that was actually in attendance of one of our work sessions. And I've done it in other communities. We went back, and again, the city clerk researched it. We're good to go with our legal.
Okay. Any comments?
No, I don't have any.
All right. Then let's go ahead and put on the agenda for 9 April.
Okay.
All right, item E, which is fire. Siri's getting active.
Yeah.
Fire station number 3, land agreement and plan review. Staff?
Chief, why don't you, Jill, come join us here. Chief Pennington and myself, we've been working on the idea of if we could acquire land on the north side of Monett for a future fire station. We did an operations study, an outside organization did that for us, and we discovered that our response time to the north is delayed. It's, do you remember the response time to the north right now?
For Station 1, it's about 5 to 6 minutes. It's over the 4-minute mark.
So with a station in the north, we could reduce that response time. We could serve more citizens. Obviously, we've got a lot of residential area that's going in the north side with North Hills now. So we've been working with, we worked with a couple of landowners out there just to see if there would be an agreement with a potential fire station out there. We do have one that now has agreed to it. We have the land donation agreement in your packet, Pete Roush. We had staff meet with Pete again yesterday, Skip and Kevin, and walked him through one more time of this. This has all been drafted and reviewed multiple times by our legal counsel, and so we're ready now to present it to council if we can move forward. So I'll pause there, and then I want to show you a preliminary drawing that's in your packet, but any questions about the land donation agreement?
I don't have any questions. I appreciate it. It's respectable.
Okay, all right. The reason why we went ahead and did a preliminary drawing, a couple of reasons. We've met 2-3 times with the Barry Lawrence Ambulance District. Lee is here today, their executive director. We've talked to them a couple of times just about the potential concept of the fire department and the ambulance working on this project together in the future. It's not done. We would have to have an agreement. We'd have to have a written agreement. This is simply 2 agencies sitting at the table saying, how can we give better protection and public safety to the citizens of Monett? Both groups have been open to that. Chief Pennington and Lee have been working on a concept drawing. How would that look? What would that look like? The other reason we needed a concept drawing is we were working on the land donation agreement. We need to know what kind of footprint do we need if we do a station up there together. And again, I want to emphasize that this isn't a work session. This is simply dialogue between 2 agencies. Barry Lawrence, their board of directors may decide not to partner in this project. Obviously, the footprint would reduce down, but we want to make sure that we're looking at a land donation that will be adequate for what we can do.
Correct.
I'm going to ask council, I don't know if Lee would like to speak this. Is it okay if Lee? Sure. Okay. Lee, do you have any comments?
I don't.
Okay. Chief?
Sorry.
I just think it's going to be great for the citizens, for better coverage, better response time, and just the citizen safety is #1, public safety is #1, what we've been preaching for the last few months and years. So I think this is going to be a great project if it pushes on.
There's no timeline to this, but we want to secure the land so that we know that as the growth moves towards the north, we want to make sure that we have the property in place for this project.
Yeah, is there any issues from, that we're not addressing here from Barry Lawrence County?
Nothing.
I mean, is there any issues that you see at this point?
I don't see any at this point from what we've been working on.
Okay, so this is gonna house both fire station, and there's some training, you can do some type of training in here?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Like, you don't have to bring a jet like you did at the airport or anything? All right, all right.
The required amount of space between fire and ambulance is pretty much 50-50 according to this drawing.
Yes.
Is that acceptable as is, with fire needing space, bigger vehicles, etc., versus?
So we've been planning on the size for our apparatus. This station will also house the reserve ladder and the reserve engine.
Correct.
To keep for our ISO points. We'll start out, I know a question that's been brought up is if this does go through, how many members will we have to have out there? We would have to hire anywhere from 9 to 12 more firefighters to house at Station 3. I know it's going to cost money and planning and all that, but again, like Mickey said, we're just in the planning stage right now.
So I don't have any questions or comments about the building. That to me is We're not even close to even talking about that whatsoever.
Right.
I just wanted to present it because I
Okay,
knew there
yeah,
was
absolutely.
talks and
Yeah, absolutely.
we wanted to make sure the land was
Yeah,
was
absolutely.
adequate.
I do want to go back to the land. There were some provisions in there about providing some infrastructure and such, and none of the dates are defined. It's all TBD. So what are we thinking about that?
So those are improvements to the rest of the land for future development out there.
Okay, for the
So
donor.
now, I can't speak for the landowner, but we're growing in Monett, and if that's residential in the future, then we would be, the city would be ready to develop in a timely manner.
Yeah, so that's probably my bigger question is what would that timeline look like? Right, if we receive the land, which I'm extremely appreciative of, if we receive that land, let's say, very soon, is the expectation is that that infrastructure is going to be installed at a short time thereafter?
Yeah, it would all depend on the developer. It would all depend on who comes in. Yeah, Skip?
Yeah.
The way that the agreement's set up, the very first part of it was getting sewer under the highway over to that property. We've kind of committed to doing that here in the next 1 to 2 years.
Okay.
And then the other, I forget what it is, 1,200 to 1,400 foot, that is left open until it is developed and we have engineered plans and everything, so it knows where it needs to go.
Okay, so it is
That's-
conditioned on
it's
future
it's
development,
conditioned
there's
on
no
future-
current plan?
Correct.
Okay,
And then there was some, I think a grinder pump we're installing.
correct, yeah. So secondary to all of that, are there any provisions for, I'll say, an escape? Let's say a future council decides not to proceed with this station at this location, and we no longer want or need that land. Is there an escape clause?
I'd have to go to Mickey.
Yeah,
I'm not aware that there's any escape. This is-
Because we're committing a future, committing a future
Exactly,
council.
yes.
Right? So, initially, do we need 3 stations or do we eliminate one? The proximity of 1 and 2 right now is fairly close.
Let me get
Relatively
with,
speaking.
yeah, let me get with legal counsel
Yeah.
to see if we can, if there's not an out clause in here. I've read through this several times.
Me
but-
too.
Okay. If there's not an out clause, we would add that.
Yeah.
Then we would need to go back to the property owner and make sure they're clear.
And that's to
on
protect
yeah,
them as
yeah,
well,
yeah.
right? So, again, we have no timeline when any of this would happen, with the
No.
exception of that sewer transferring, or I'm sorry, crossing the highway.
I know what you're saying.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
This is a work session. This is a good place to ask
Yeah.
those questions.
Yeah.
Very good questions.
I think
And,
the
yeah.
prospect of having a station on the north side is extremely attractive. Looking at the cost of all that infrastructure, looking at the cost of the building is extremely daunting. And, as Chief Pennington alluded, adding additional staff to be able to man that station, knowing the age of the City Hall building and that fire station, I don't know how well that location is serving us, but I would want us to potentially consider maybe closing 1 and leaving 2 and this new 3, and maybe that changes the footprint of the new 3 to a larger facility. I just don't know. But anyway, again,
Those are very good questions by council. I think right now, because of the study, we know we're gonna have to do something on the north side. You're gonna see a lot of growth out there.
yeah, absolutely, there's a lot of residential area dwellings up there.
Yeah, and the Methodist Church has a lot of land there as well. That seems prime greenfield for development.
So where on the map is this? Is it on the north side of 37 at the turn?
What road is that right there?
1075.
1075.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the west side of
So
that,
it's their current property.
right there at that
It's
corner.
right up in the very corner of Pete's Prop, right in it'd be the southeast corner there.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. We'll check on the out clause. Anything else about this topic?
I think the question I'll ask you don't have to answer it now, but can we get by with shutting down 1 or 2? Don't answer it now, but take a look at it.
I'll take a look at it.
Okay.
Well, But that's also conditioned on an additional.
I understand.
It's
but
not just an elimination.
Understand that, but if we do this, we do move forward, I want the chief to tell me why, what's the feasibility of shutting down Station 1 and 2? All right.
Yeah, I think he can do that, so. All right, no other questions?
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on. Discussion of airport updates, the AWAS system and hangar status.
Yes, just talked to Joe Pesca yesterday. We did get our letter from MoDOT, the money that's been obligated for the AWAS. We've got confirmation we have that, so that will continue to end the process, the design phase. That still needs to go out for bid, that project, but at least we're making progress on the AWAS. And then the city hangar, we're working with the contractor. Looks like it's going to be a mid-April pre-con meeting, and with a start date of hopefully 1st of May is what we're projecting on the hangar. It's a pretty short build-out. It's 6 months, 8 months. It's pretty quick. So that's kind of the update on the airport and the developments out there. Any questions about any of those?
Maybe a question. On the AWAS, and when I was involved earlier, were they able to kind of work it around to get almost 100% of it paid for?
Yes, it's a 10% match.
10%, okay.
Yeah, so, but we think the dirt work that we've already done is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, any other questions about AWAS or city?
All right, let's move on to item G, Easy Dock at the South Park Plant.
Yes, there's an organization called Southwest Missouri Wild Game, and they do the wild game dinner at the YMCA. They also do the annual fishing derby at South Park. And when they do the annual fishing derby, they bring in a dock that is put there temporarily. Kids can fish off of it, and then it's removed and it goes away. So Easy Dock would like to donate the dock to the city of Monett. We would leave it there permanently. Southwest Missouri Wild Game would use it and it's helped sponsoring this gift to the city. I've talked with Larry Howard. He's in favor of this. I think it's going to be an amenity to the South Park that we will like. We've talked to our insurance broker or carrier. There's no issue with having a dock in the park. So all of that's been clarified. We've talked to legal about the donation of this apparatus to the city, and there's no issues there. So staff is recommending that we bring this before council at the April meeting.
It's gonna go on the north end, is that correct?
Yes.
I mean, they bring it every year. So-
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And they'll place it. Once it's placed, then we'll maintain it.
And it's a floater?
Yes.
Let's pull it over. How do we stock that thing?
That is a great question. Do you know if we ever saw
Last I
it?
knew, it hadn't been in some time, since we're done, if you have any details on that, but I don't think we've stocked that pond in some time, but it had been in the past.
Well, done fish farm around the business, so.
Yeah.
They stocked it last year before the conservation stocked it last year before
Oh,
the
okay.
fishing tournament.
There you go.
All right, so we can expect a more frequent stocking if people are gonna use this dock.
Yeah,
All right.
there's a lot of people that use that pond to fish in a lot of times, so.
No changes on age, dates, and all that stuff? There are people that can fish like it is now?
No.
Everything will
that-
remain the same?
Yeah, all that'll stay the same. They'll just have a place to cast off of at the dock, so. Okay,
Any more discussion? Any questions? All right, let's move on to rezone of 617 and 619 Main Street.
Doug, you want to come join us? Mr. Potts is going to take both these, item H and item I.
Okay.
Certainly, this is a rezoning application that was received last month for 617, 619 Main. Specifically, that's an area at Main and Opal. I don't know if you're able to pull that up on.
It's right by the wastewater plant on the other north side of the railroad track.
That's correct. That was an application that was submitted by Mr. Jason Karima. He is looking to rezone that property. It is currently zoned industrial. He wants to rezone that to be multifamily. This was heard at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week on the 19th and recommended for approval, or recommended for rezoning from D industrial to B multifamily, contingent on some kind of agreement between the city and Mr. Karima involving specifically some prescriptive utility easements that run across the front of the property. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time.
Well, one of the things, it is industrial now because it's close to the wastewater plant, is that what we think?
Yes.
I'm sure that's why it is.
Okay.
And then did you speak about what has been dumped there in the past?
So there is some evidence of some dumping towards the lot is topographically challenged. It falls off quite a bit towards the back. Obviously, the railroad tracks are right there. There has been some dumping that has been taking place there. I don't know if it's actually connected with redevelopment of the property specifically, but as far as the overall condition of the soils on this lot, I do not know what the status is at this time.
The dumping is, citizens doing that, or just?
The guy that owned it, yeah, he's dumped, before these folks, this whole area in here has been dumped full of stuff. We were out, and the sewer line, it goes basically right through here.
There should be, there is a map of that actually on the next page if you want to pull in it.
We were trying to find a manhole out there, and there's enough pieces of metal and trash in there. It was beeping all over the place.
So it's not chemical dumping, but it is dumping.
Yeah, it's just, anything they can dump.
If you scroll, it might be down on the second page.
There it is, yes.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
That sewer line really chops that thing in half.
Yeah, that's gonna be an issue. So the safety considerations have to do with former dumping, that's what, from the staff recommendation?
So the staff recommendation is really dealing with these prescriptives. So there's a water line and an 8-inch sanitary sewer line that effectively cut the front half of the property off. What effectively that does is it means that there would need to be, that would need to be taken into consideration for anything that he would choose to build on that lot. Effectively, that about 2/3 of that lot cannot be constructed on. It is a challenging lot for development from a B multifamily perspective. But yes, to your point also, there is some dumping considerations. We would want to get some more clarity on what exactly that is before
Well, what we're considering now is the rezoning, so.
That's right.
All right, so, because the plat will have to come back, there'll have to be some issues before we grant that. Would you recommend, your staff recommendation is to go from D to B? Do you not recommend that, or?
My recommendation would be to keep it as D industrial. There were some stipulations that were placed in the recommendation for the staff report, specifically that the recommendation to rezone could be undertaken if there were certain things that were taken into account. For instance, an easement, an easement and encroachment indemnification agreement. As I said, there are some things that could be agreed to between Mr. Karima and the city that would mitigate some of these issues, but as I said, they do not exist at this time.
Can you talk to me about setting a precedent?
Yes, so with most of the property that is around the sewer plant is zoned either D, industrial, or C, commercial, specifically because those are not residential uses. With the rezoning of this property to B multifamily, you would create precedent to rezone other industrial and commercial property that is around the sewer plant to B multifamily. And then also there are other properties that are nearby this lot which would also now be contiguous, so there could be future rezoning applications from industrial to B multifamily for those lots that are right next door.
Okay.
So the adjacent property is already a C.
It is.
Right, the property to the east. What restrictions, if this were to be declined, what restrictions would Mr. Karima have as far as building? Would he have to come back and request a rezone to C and still be able to put residential property on it?
So he could, we do allow residential uses in C. The main reason why, the property next door, I do not have the address.
That's okay.
But the reason why that property in particular was rezoned from industrial to commercial is because the current use of the individual on that lot is already a commercial use. So he's utilizing he rezoned from industrial to commercial to better fit what he's already doing, but it is not residential. That's the key difference.
So my concern is that we would then have, going east to west, we would have a C, a potential B, and a D zoning all within that area. That's a concern of mine. Does Property and Zoning Board have that same concern? What was there? They recommended it come to us. Was there any other concerns, comments from them?
My understanding from last week's meeting was that the recommendation was contingent specifically upon reaching some kind of agreement that involved the prescriptive utility easements, but that was contingent upon that existing. We do not have that at this time.
I don't have any other questions.
Well, I think you want to send this back to planning and zoning?
We
we do
can,
that?
absolutely.
Yeah, let's send it back to planning and zoning.
Are we determining that today, or that's?
No, it'll have to go to council meeting, and then you can make the recommendation at council meeting to send it back to P and Z.
Okay.
So it'll be on the agenda on the 9th.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Draft resolution regarding inspection fees.
So there was originally some discussion about creating an ordinance, a draft ordinance, to change the city's fee schedule to represent administrative costs. There is some discussion within community development about reconsidering an ordinance and redoing it as a resolution. It was discovered, I believe in 2015, is that right, Skip? There was a resolution establishing a department policy for streets. Utilities, thank you. What I will probably be doing is working on actually creating a holistic policy for community development. It would involve changes to fee schedules to represent administrative costs. It would involve code enforcement policy. It would involve specifically our processes involving applications for rezoning, applications for Board of Adjustment variance appeals, etc., and then creating a resolution that would adopt that as a policy. I do not have a draft of that resolution at this time, though.
And that's fair, I appreciate that. Can we approach that a little more, I'll say holistically for the city? I know that one time there was a project initiated to...
It's usually called a comprehensive fee schedule.
Yeah.
And it can be broken down so that anybody can find out the fees that it takes to either operate business in town or develop in town, whatever.
Right.
So we can pick that back up and do a.
And give this a holistic approach so that we're not piecemealing this along the way. We have consistent.
Yeah, I agree. So, I mean, today we're just discussing about introducing, I mean, is that kind of as far as we're gonna go?
Yes, if there is a draft resolution being put together, a draft policy, it does
Okay.
not exist yet, though.
Cool.
All right, well, it looks like the right thing to do, so continue on with the draft.
All right, very good.
All right,
Doug.
thanks.
Now the moment Mike has been waiting for.
All right, fiscal year 25-26 order review, Mr. Michael Keenan.
Everybody must have been waiting for me.
Yeah, we have been. Go ahead.
Were you able
We
to?
we have a slideshow?
Yeah.
Okay.
pink coming at you.
Sir? No, pink?
Hi. Well, good morning. My name is Michael Keenan. I'm with Hood Associates, and I appreciate the opportunity and invitation to come and present the financial statements and compliance audit for the fiscal year ended March 31, 2025. Included in your board packet, next page, please, you will receive 3 different documents, which would be the, and I've got paper copies, bound copies, is the basic financial statements, the financial statements and notes to the financial statements. Also, the single audit report, which is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards and the related report required as a single audit. And then finally, the required communications and management letter. And I'll kind of summarize all this information to this PowerPoint and then open the floor to any questions there may be. So a little bit about Hood and Associates. We serve Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. We also go through what's called a peer review. That's an outside auditing firm will come in and review our quality control standards. And we've been awarded the highest rating as a result of that review. We're members of various professional organizations, including the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the AICPA Government Audit Quality Center. One member, which happens to be me, is a member of the Government Service Audit Team that review entities that submit their financial statements for Certificate of Achievement in Financial Reporting. And again, we're licensed in the states of Missouri, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. Again, the scope of our audit, we were engaged to perform an audit of the city's basic financial statement, again, the larger document, as well as the single audit. And the city's major federal program was the remaining funds related to your ARPA funds that you had received 3 years ago. You had until 2026 to expend those, and you used all those funds in this fiscal year, and that was about $1,033,000, which caused the city in this particular to have a single audit. The single audit threshold is changing to $1 million in this next fiscal year. And I believe you've got some airport grants coming up.
Yes, sir.
And so that was the single audits 2 years ago, if you recall, where they were doing those projects. And again, it sounds like those will be the continuing single audit requirements for the city of Monett.
Thank you.
I'm going to go over what management's responsibilities are. Again, management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of financial statements in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. This includes the design, implementation, and maintenance of internal controls that are relevant to the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements. Management is also responsible for following laws and regulations and ensuring that financial information is both reliable and properly reported. They're also responsible for implementing systems designed to achieve compliance with applicable laws, regulation, contracts, and grant agreements. That's what management's responsibility is. Okay, our responsibility as the auditor is to conduct our audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, government auditing standards, as well as uniform guidance. And uniform guidance dictates what we do and what other auditors do related to the expenditures of federal awards. We're also responsible to plan and perform our audit to obtain reasonable assurance, but not absolute assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatements. Again, what that means is we take a risk-based approach in selecting what we don't audit all transactions, so obviously we can't give absolute assurance, but we take a risk-based approach and address our audit procedures to address those risks so that we're satisfied at the end of the audit procedure to be able to give an opinion on the fair presentation of financial statements. I'm also responsible to report on internal controls over financial reporting, as well as compliance with laws and regulations. Now, the Auditing Standards Board of the AICPA recommend that we communicate these matters to the governing board. Illegal acts, none came to our attention as a result of us performing our audit procedures. Changes in significant accounting policies. Again, for this last audit, there was no significant changes in the accounting policies the city operates under. We're pleased to report we had no difficulties or disagreements with management. I will say, since we're looking at almost December or March 31, 25, there was some delays really in both parties of getting financial information and us completing. And again, that kind of explains the delay of why we normally have these presented in September or October, and also address that a little bit more as we get to the next one. And I'm pleased that we had full cooperation and access to the books and records. On the next one, again, a financial implied audit addresses these three basic questions. The first one, are financial statements free of material misstatement? And our response to that question is, we have issued an unmodified opinion that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material specs. Again, an unmodified opinion really means a clean opinion. That's the highest level of opinion that external auditors can provide on financial statements. The second question, are internal controls over financial reporting adequately designed and operating effectively? And we did identify a deficient internal controls that we consider to be a material weakness. Again, that information is the required communication. What that relates to is during our audit process, you can manage it, as we said, is responsible for internal controls and financial statement preparation. Historically, we have assisted in providing some adjustment to convert from cash basis of accounting to a modified accrual or accrual basis for financial reporting. In this particular instance, we had some additional entries that we normally wouldn't have. And so when we have those types of situations, we have to look at those and identify, is that a material weakness in internal controls? And we concluded that that was. Now, the reason for that, part of that is there was, again, as you know, a significant turnover in your finance and department. And so there was also a lag time of when that was vacant. So that, again, contributed to some of the delays in the audit information received. And then you throw us on top of that. And that's where we're at today. Now, we did recommend, and management has looked at, are there training opportunities related to the software? Again, you have a complicated financial reporting system, and when you lose that institutional knowledge that you had for many, many years, it's hard to start over. And so I think there's a plan to look at the planning. I can provide some assistance up to a certain level. We also talked about getting some other outside training assistance. So I think that develop a plan to move forward. But nevertheless, we have to consider that a material weakness.
We do. Cassell, we're reaching out to Cassell. There's additional training. There's been training this week. There are some investment reports that frankly are hard to read. So we have a local investment firm that's going to help the finance director and some of those reports and the reading of those reports. We're meeting in May to contract with CPA Group as also support for our financial department. Then as far as just internal controls, this is our first budget together. That's not an excuse with the finance director and myself, but we're going to look at internal controls. We're going to look at new policies, financial policies, and so we do have a plan in place to meet these needs.
Is Cassell an operational program you use often?
There's only a couple. It's not one of the most primary ones that I see. You know, Tyler Technologies is the biggest one. Encode.
Encode is.
And again, when you're looking at these types of programs, certainly the cost of implementing those is
for us to migrate to another system would be costly, and so that's why I believe it's better for us to build rapport with Cassell and get training from Cassell. And then there were upgrades that Cassell had done that the city hadn't updated their system. So now we're in the process of getting the updates and how do we update the system. Eventually we'd like to move to the cloud with Cassell, but I
doesn't
would
change the software.
Yeah, it's just part of this, what we're trying to get to. But I would not recommend that we change our operating system.
I'm just wondering if it was a burden. to work with.
I would just say that it's designed for governments. And again, I think with any different software, it's like the more you use it, the more you understand it.
Yep,
You know the
correct.
capabilities.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when you're starting from the base zero, I mean, anyone would have a difficult time learning any program.
Yeah, most of the
Just
municipalities
coming up,
that I know of, and the one I came from, use Encode. So I hadn't heard of Cassell until I came to Monett, so.
But it's more, if we try to switch systems now, we're gonna cause more problems.
Yeah.
It's better to use what we have right now, catch up, and then at some point in the future, we may consider going to something else, but catching up is what we
Yeah.
kinda have to do right now, right?
And I would say from the accounting software is really kind of, I wouldn't say is irrelevant, but any software that you're using, you need to be able to resume financial statements to evaluate prior decisions as well as future decisions. So no matter what you do, so I think that's where the training and some of those to get timely output to be able to review all the different things.
Processes still need
and
to be
things
in
that you're
place.
talking about, which are great for the city of Monett.
So Mickey had mentioned that we're going to work with a local investment firm.
It's actually a local banker, First State Bank of the Ozarks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's for the,
Financial reports that we receive. Do you want to speak to that?
Investments.
so just the investments, just the T-bills, T-notes and things like that?
Yeah.
So what are they going to do for you? They're just going to consolidate these reports or?
Just kind of a sounding board to
Okay,
make sure that I am recording them properly.
okay.
One of the recommendations from Michael was that we just get help for our financial director,
Yeah.
wherever she may need it. She's very qualified, but like all of us, there's a learning curve here in this, and so we're getting that assistance.
Yeah, I know there's been some struggles with US Bank. I just didn't know if arbitrage is a gap that
It's helping.
could fill it. All right. And then CPA group is just to also just provide, what, operational assistance or?
Yeah, and again, Sandra, you'll have to speak to that, because when we meet with them, your CPA group,
I come from the Encode world.
Yeah.
So Cassell is enough difference that the CPA group will help me make sure that I'm getting it in all the right places
Okay.
and not dropping off in the middle.
and they have done prior work with the city, so.
So they understand
Yeah.
this help.
Yep, good.
The third question, did the city comply in all material aspects of finance-related laws and regulations? Again, no material non-compliance was noted with the finance-related laws and regulations that govern the city's operations. Again, specifically the single audit report, again, an unmodified opinion on compliance. And again, we only look at the ARPA funds, but we also consider any of the other federal funds and make different inquiries of city personnel. Management letter comments and practice. You know, we've discussed the financial reporting aspect and our material weakness. We also have a recommendation related to budgeting, and that the general fund and the fleet fund, the actual expenditures exceeded budgeted expenditures, and the general fund was by $561,000. Again, I think with the transition with finance personnel and new management, those things maybe just were looked so. And again, we've talked about this, and I know there's awareness to monitor, amend, and go through those processes to do the budget. The next one, future accounting pronouncements, there's only 3 left at this point until they decide to come up with some more stuff. But none of those 3 that I see are going to have a significant impact on the Monett's financial statements. Also, in the prior year, we had comments related to, and you touched on this, was go ahead and review fiscal policies and procedures. That's ever constant revolving is looked at. I know that there was a new purchasing policy, I believe, approved, and to go through those and get those documented. That will help during a transition if you lose people unexpectedly through retirement or anything of that nature. Also, we had suggested and looked at cybersecurity. It's an ever pressing component. I know that the city is proactive, but also so are the other cities, and you know, all the listing, it gets bigger and bigger. It's nothing to laugh at, but you know, it's just something that unfortunately you just have to pay attention to and be vigilant about identifying those risks, change the past, all the things that they currently are doing. And then finally, we certainly appreciate the opportunity to serve as auditors for the city of Monett. Thank you, Mary, Mickey, Sandra, and all the other staff of the city that helped us get our information. I would say they love when we come here, and they really love when we leave, because they...
We do.
No,
It has nothing to do with you.
I don't take these things personally, but anyway, we appreciate the assistance. So with that, I'll open up the floor to any questions that maybe have over the financial statements, single audit report, or required communications.
You want to go through the, what do you want to call this, the discussion and analysis sheets that you presented this with us first?
What do you want to do?
The, as in the packet that was presented to us for this today, your explanation of a lot of the assets and outflows, et cetera, are you going to go through that today?
Well, we can. I didn't.
I'm just asking if you were, because we have it in front of us, if there's anything you want to explain to us.
Okay, well, that's the management discussion analysis, something that you would write. We assisted in, management assisted in explaining the changes within the fiscal year.
Now we have to do our work based on what Michael has found and management suggestions, and that's on our end now.
Fair enough.
So you can just look at, again, page 6, if you're looking at the overall governmental activities and business activities. Governmental activities, the general fund and your sales tax funds, and your debt service fund. The business type activities are all utilities. So if you're just looking at 2025 compared to 2024, the changes in that position on the governmental activities was a little over $2 million. And that's compared to 4.9 million in the prior year. But when you look at revenues, we're down, again, I'm looking at line, the 10 million versus 11, revenues were down a little bit.
Okay.
Again, without, I don't have the exact detail to go through each line in one, but I'm just pointing out in total. And I'll be more than glad to go through this and we can have another conversation on it.
Okay.
But your expenses went up by about 3 million. Total governmental expense. Well, that includes depreciation. The biggest one is the airport runway came on, and prior to that, that wasn't being depreciated. So if you're just looking at the two, that was a pretty good increase of 2 million compared to the prior year of 5 million. And your total net position is 71 million versus 69, so that went up. So if you go back to page 5, I'm just saying, what does the 71 million contain? It contains 53 million of capital assets net of related debt. So that would be all your infrastructure, equipment, streets, and less the related debt that you have. I mean, the biggest one you paid off the aquatic center, 1.5 million, which freed up now. So that sales tax fund, parks that we'll be able to use for other purposes. And so that's what and if you read through here, and also I would encourage you to look at the notes of the financial statements to help do that. And like I said, if we go through this and if you have any specific questions, certainly you can call me, it's an email. I'm more than happy to have an additional one-on-one.
Okay, thank you.
So if you went to your business type activities, again, they increased, they were 1.8 million, increased, again, the bottom line, 1.8, and they increased to 2.3. And so if you went back and looked, all four, actually not 5, of your enterprise funds had positive things. And certainly, as you know, in the enterprise funds, they're fee-based. So this governing body has always got to review the fees and see if you're charging enough fees to cover your cost. That's problematic in some governing bodies, where they don't like to do that. So I'm not saying that that's the case here, but again, that's one of the biggest things that I see at other municipalities is they don't do that frequently enough.
Yeah, we do I think, a very good job analyzing
Yeah.
our fee structure.
Yeah, I was saying, but clearly you know what I'm saying, so that fills up. But if you're just looking at the 38 million in net position, you have 19 million of capital assets net of related debt and
Correct.
15 million of unrestricted. So that unrestricted would be cash, receivables, less payables. So if you're looking at, you got 15 million of that, your total expenses is 26 million, not quite 50%, but I'm sure you got a lot of deferred maintenance. That's stuff that needs to be looked at on both the electric, water, sewer. So again, that's a little, the summary up the government wide. I'm usually ready for specific questions, so I apologize for maybe not being ready to go over this completely.
That's fine, no, I just wanted to ask. Because it's pretty much all summed up right in the beginning of your report.
Yeah, this, again, is a summary of the whole thing. It's kind of, if you're a private company, there's a letter from the chairman, CFO, that says, here's what happened. It's supposed to be a narrative of what happened at the government wide. And in the back through here, you can see here's analysis of the city funds,
Right.
what went up, went down, a listing of the capital assets, your debt service, and then the economic factors of next year's budget, which is really basically the 2025-26 budget message as updated.
That I gave to you all when we approved the budget.
Correct.
Ken, did you have a question?
Yeah, so in this report here, the single audit report on page 6, we talk about the transaction reporting, year-end closing procedures and such. And there's a target date of March 31st, next week, for the completion of that recommendation. Is that corrective action plan what you just talked about as far as getting with First State Bank? No. Okay. So what does that entail?
March 31st is the end of our fiscal year. So that's when our current budget stops and the one you adopted begins. And that's all it is too.
Well, this is about a corrective action plan as far as additional software training. Management will also review and revise year-end closing procedures, including developing a year-end closing checklist and closing properties and
That's
things
a
like
lot of
that.
Cassell training and stuff.
Okay, right,
How
but
you close the budget.
Yeah, it's not
but the
gonna.
completion day was next week, but I'm assuming
It
it's
will
just for
not.
the plan of.
Yeah,
Yes, this is the plan. Yeah.
That was the date that I put.
Okay.
Yeah.
That goes in here to
Yeah.
the report. I
No.
mean, it's an ever ongoing
So
process, so I
But it has to
didn't.
be
if I recall, that's fine, yeah, I understand, thank you. If I recall, in the past, we've done budget amendments,
Yes.
and that we did not do this year, is that correct?
We are gonna bring them to the April
April? Okay.
council.
All right. And the GASB standards, there were 3 GASB standards that I guess you recommend some training on. Are we pursuing that? There's GASB 102, 103, and 105.
Yeah, in most instances, they rely on the external auditors to assist in the implementation.
Okay.
Those 3 particular, as I mentioned, are not gonna have a significant impact
Okay.
on the city's financial statements. But so
But they do benefit
if
us.
they do have
But they benefit us. That's why they're noted.
they're required.
They're required.
They're required out of
Yep.
every municipality has to do those. So, I
Yep.
mean, just for instance, the last one's called subsequent events. So that just changed the reporting of subsequent events that reoccurred. And so these apply to all municipal governments that report under GAAP.
Right, and now is that training your firm provides to us?
Yeah, we just, if we know, if there's a subsequent event, then we'll just say we have to disclose it in accordance with GASB 105.
I see. Okay.
And so most of it's just.
It's not a formal
changing the
training
no.
of what those standards are? Okay.
Again, some of the previously, maybe back years ago when they, changed the whole reporting, back in GASB 34, which has been
Been a
years
while,
ago when
yeah.
if you read, they really changed everything. Then there would be some training.
Okay.
They changed the lease standards. And so there'd be some training. They used to, when you did leases, you wrote them a check and said that's a lease expense.
Yep.
Well, they changed it to say that needs to be counted as a a right to use asset and depreciate it, and a right to use liability. Those would require training and difference in accounting, because of the difference of how they were previously accounted to how they have to be accounted and reported going forward. So those are the type of differences that we would provide training and knowledge versus just implementation of a standard that has reporting implications only.
You mentioned earlier about entries being made to convert them from a cash basis to the
Correct.
modified accrual basis. So our accounting method is cash, and is that standard, or do we have the option to go to a modified or an actual accrual accounting method?
Okay, you do, it would be more effort.
No, I get that, but that, is the juice worth the squeeze there? Does it benefit
No.
us in the long term?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, basically, I think when you look at what you get on a monthly basis, is gonna be your statement of revenues, expenses,
Okay.
and budget.
Okay.
Right, because
You're not getting a balance sheet that says, I have this much in receivables and I have this much in payables.
No, I get that. I'm talking about, well, what I'm referring to most specifically is those entries that are required to convert it from cash to modified accrual. Is the quantity, the number of those going to increase so much that that becomes now a burden for us to approach each year versus if we were already in accrual method? These are just general questions.
No, yeah, I would think you still would want to report them to modified.
Okay.
I don't think you'd want to go to cash.
Okay. Well, I thought we were cash.
Well, for internal reporting, for
Yeah.
external reporting, you gotta be unmodified accrual.
Sure.
Yeah, so most of those would be, again, usually if the difference would be if you were going to, that your staff would make those entries, not necessarily rely on the auditor. So I guess I'm maybe not following the.
Those entries still need to be made, is my point.
The duty is made if you're going to report these financial statements under general accepted accounting principles.
Right. I guess my question was, if we were already in accrual method, do those entries go away?
Yeah, if you were already in accrual method, then you wouldn't have the entries.
And is there any benefit to being
No.
accrual method to start?
No.
Okay, that's what
I think, again, for external reporting.
yeah, that's
No,
fine.
I think, I guess I'm making sure I understand the question, but, and I would say this, that on your utility funds, you are recording receivables as they're billed. So those are kind of on a full accrual on your revenues.
Right.
But I think the way that you have your internal statements should be sufficient for you to verify and look at and compare budget results.
Thank you.
And I'm assuming you're gonna be turning around pretty soon and doing this all over again.
Yes?
For FY '26.
Yeah, so they're gonna look at bringing a budget amendment forward and got, different plans. I think that now that she's been through one, again, just having that knowledge of those things, getting some assistance. Those investment statements are challenging to review. Here's cash, fair value, all these things, sales and stuff, I guess you have seen your own. That, and the city has a lot of this, so.
It does.
Yeah, I think what we're looking at, and then, as you know, the due date is generally 6 months. Subsequent to year end, you issued some revenue bonds. As a part of those requirements, they're saying you gotta have this audited done by 6 months, so they can report to the EMA and your continuing compliance requirements, so.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Again, if there's any other questions, if you have some, certainly you have my contact information. We can do on the phone, we can do a Teams meeting, Zoom, pull up financial statements.
I always like to talk to
Don't you wanna do
inspectors.
that?
Yeah, I always
You wanna
like
do-
it when inspectors do that, yeah.
It was understandable and easy to understand, so thank you very much for what you do
Yeah.
and how you do it.
No, thank you.
I think you got a good plan going forward for this, so. All right, any other comments or questions on the audit review?
And then we added council comments, so I don't know if there's any, okay.
Okay, all right, thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
All right, now,
Thank you, Mike.
go on to council comments. We're doing a groundbreaking. Take care, Michael.
Thank you, Mike.
We're doing a groundbreaking tomorrow of the dog park, is that correct?
Yes. And then I just found out that there's a ribbon cutting. What's the new restaurant called?
Guac and Go.
Guac and Go at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So we'll post that as a potential. I don't know if you're planning on going, but ribbon cutting tomorrow. So it's one of our.
Haven't been in there yet. Okay. All right, commissioners? Comments?
I read your, and I've been spending time with Mr. Mickey here, more, learning. Your emails were sufficient and explanatory for us in the past. I love sitting down with you in person. It gives me a little bit more of a conversation piece that I can get answered on the spot. I know you're taking a lot of work due in maintaining the fact that the Chamber of Commerce is positioned currently, and you're stepping up and you're doing a lot of the help and providing to make sure that the scheduled items that are on the Chamber of Commerce with the city are followed through. So I respect that. Thank you very much for that. So I know we have a lot on the table. Believe me, I'm not going to sit here and ask you a lot today, but I respect that we have this council comment at the end of every work session and meeting. So thank you very much for allowing us to do that.
Yeah, as far as the chamber, we have a partnership, but my understanding is they've put together we've got a lot of ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings planned for over the next several weeks, and we just want to make sure that our chamber partner is on board with that. So they've been sent all of those, and like I said, they've got a committee, so we'll keep working on all that together.
I don't have anything prepared, so I have nothing.
Okay, do you have any motions to go into closed session?
Okay, make a motion. Do you have a?
Yeah, Kelly, myself, and Jessica.
Okay, guys, everybody, thank you all for coming. We're going to move now into our closed session. We will convene in the closed session pursuant to section 6.0.021, revised statute of Missouri, subsections 1, 2, and 3 to discuss legal matters, real estate, personal matters with the city clerk, city administrator, and our HR.
Okay, that's a motion.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, I will second.
Okay, call the roll.
Mayor Raderberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Candesa.
Aye.
Commissioner Darren and Davina.
Aye.
All right, we'll convene in our normal closed session room.
Yeah.